Welcome to this week's weekly card reading. I am Allison from Soulstar Energy Collective. I am an intuitive, a healer, a spiritual teacher, and I like to come on every week and just give some messages for your week ahead. I will be sharing 2 messages. I've pulled cards on this. So for message 1, this is the pile of cards that I have chosen. And then for message 2, these are the pile of cards. And if you want to kind of feel in to see which one's calling you this week, you could ask a question or just wait for the general guidance. Before I get into that, we have opened up registration for our signature soul activating journey. It's a 6-month container that really brings you through this spiritual awakening journey and helps support you in learning and reactivating your intuitive gifts and being able to recognize them and trust them, as well as really supporting you on a personal journey of healing, because it typically goes hand in hand. When we're kind of going through an awakening, we're going through a bit of a, internal healing and shift, and it's so beautiful. So this 6-month container helps support that as you kind of move along with it. So if you have questions and want to book a free 20-minute clarity call with me, please feel free to do so. You can get that at the website. If just send a message or anything like that, if you have any questions. And I've got a few of those booked up and some people who have signed up. So it's going to be fun. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm finishing up this last cohort. So we have only a few more weeks left for that. And then we'll be starting with new people. So, okay, let's go into message number 1. So message number 1, I received the cards Unbound, Releasing Soul Patterns, Contracts, and Past Lives. Beyond the Ordinary. And Review Your Responsibilities. Not all responsibilities are ours to hold. So I instantly felt like there was some thought patterns that were shifting or needing to shift. And so it kind of feels like this is connected to just, limiting beliefs, old stories, things that you've maybe adopted just from childhood as like what your family thought and what society has thought. And it kind of feels like you're meant to like break free from this. So, they're showing me an example of, the traditional, like if a couple is getting a divorce, it's like, it's supposed to look this way. It's supposed to be, that they're not happy with each other. And, it's like, no, this is what you get, this is what I get, and it's fair. And there just seems to be like a societal kind of expectation when it comes to that. And so as an example on that, and it's kind of like, it feels like you're meant to kind of like break free from that societal expectation and be like, well, why do we need to do it that way? Why can't we do it this more aligned way? So it really kind of feels like this week there's just some thought patterns or, kind of just limiting beliefs or limiting stories or just things that you're meant to kind of look at differently and not just kind of fall in line with how maybe your family sees it, your friends see it, your coworkers, society, whatever it is. It just feels like you are meant to do it differently and get creative with it. And in doing it differently, it's kind of even releasing that releasing the hold of like caring what other people think, because doing it differently is going to make people kind of go, what, why are you doing it that way? And so kind of preparing yourself to be like, doesn't matter what others say, like this is the way I'm moving through it, and this is the way I see best. And so because it just feels like with you taking this a different way and shifting the energy. It's not just going to help you, it's going to help everybody involved, or anybody like around you involved, because it just feels like a higher vibrational way of moving through it. And let me just see. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, and I think even in that, I just feel like there's so many different kind of like scenarios and stuff, because it also feels like in a way you're choosing yourself, which I know, again, maybe that's what part of it is choosing yourself. And society is like, you choose yourself, you're selfish, and we're so ingrained in that, and sometimes we need to kind of like take a step back and be like, we should be putting ourselves first. Yes, is there a shadow side to everything? For sure. For sure, you're going to have like choosing yourself and you go way too over on the other side, and it becomes selfish and maybe not a nice person. And then there's the other side where we give too much and we just become, a doormat where people walk all over. Like, none of those are good. So having that balance of, choosing yourself and your happiness and moving forward with that, in a more aligned way, and realizing like kind of like, what are your boundaries with it, because you're just as important with whatever you're moving through. So really just kind of shifting some of those old thought patterns, pushing the limit, pushing the paradigm, and stepping into this newer version of yourself. And it's going to be exciting. Like, I love the card. I love this card, like beyond the ordinary. Like, you're doing it differently, and look how vibrant and exciting that is. Like, that's the way you're supposed to do it. Okay, so message 2. So this was practice freedom, release the weight of judgment. Oh, it's kind of similar to the first pile where it's like, who cares? Don't let people judge you. It's so easy to say because I hate being judged. Don't dim to fit in. How are you dimming your light in order to fit in? And divine matrix. So let me just feel into this. It feels very similar, but let's just see. Gosh, it does. It feels so similar to the first one. Just want to see what the difference is. So this one, I get this sense that maybe you're on this spiritual path, or you've been on this spiritual path, and you've been following, this path of spirituality. No, sorry, because I'm just like repeating myself. No, but it feels like you've been following this guidance, this unseen guidance that you can feel inside, and you've been trusting it and following this path, and knowing that there's something beyond, like the divine matrix, like knowing that there is these layers, this fabric that kind of layers through in our lives that is beyond our comprehension, that kind of leads us. And it feels like you've really tapped into that and have been trusting that path. And even if it doesn't make sense at times, maybe at a lot of times, but there's just this inner knowing, because you've really tapped into this energy of understanding it. And it kind of feels like it's going to lead you to a path that is going to, in a way, kind of like have you stand out. So you might stand out in the sense of like, whether that's within your family or within your social group or whatever, and kind of us doing it differently. See how it's similar messages, but it just feels, this one's more connected to maybe the spiritual path, but it feels like it's going to be something, like, I feel like something's on the way that it just might make people kind of go like, are you serious? Are you sure you want to do that? And it's really like having you trust that, kind of divine matrix, having you trust that divinity that you've connected to keep moving forward with it. And in that sense, like letting go of the judgment, right? Like letting go of the fear of being judged. Because it feels like there will be judgment, but it's knowing that you are solid within yourself, that you know that truth, and it doesn't matter kind of what other people are thinking, and in that sense, it's like this sense of freedom that comes with that, with not caring what other people think, because then it's just like there's this aspect of surrendering, that you just kind of like going with where you're meant to go, whether it's ludicrous or not, like whether you think it's ludicrous or not, or others think it's that way. And really it's like walking your own, like, what's that saying? Like, you walk to your own beat type of thing. And that's really part of, like, don't dim to fit in. Like, how are you dimming your light to fit in? Like, it's like you're not meant to fit in. You're not meant to do it the regular way. You're not meant to do it the way that, maybe we see society, doing things. Like, for example, they're kind of showing me like, oh, like we go to school, and then we graduate, and then we get a job, and then, typically we meet somebody, and then we have a family, and then we raise them, and then we retire. And that, like, they're showing me like this, oh, like this is the path that we're supposed to do. And it's kind of like, no, you're meant to weave in and out and all over the place. You're not meant to follow this linear path. And so kind of really owning that and stepping into that, and celebrating that, because it really feels like this is an amazing thing. It's not a failure at life when we're not doing it the exact way that maybe everybody else is doing it, or society sees as doing it. So really celebrating that, and sticking with that, like sticking forward with that, because it feels like there's more to that path that's going to come, that's going to be, more to being like, what are you doing? So that's it. I think that's it. All right. Well, I hope that makes sense. Sometimes I feel like it's very specific to certain people, and definitely I get messages that are like, it's like you were speaking to me. So maybe they are very specific, but it's, this general messages. So you take what resonates, leave what doesn't, because not all of it is going to fit. But I hope you have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week.